Vision.
I'm so jealous. Why'd you have to tell me that? I want a burrito so
I'm
bad.
sorry. It's a Trader Joe's burrito, which are actually really good, the chicken ones.
I'm obsessed with Trader Joe's. I just got like a hair mask from there and they're just the best.
Oh, yeah. Can't beat it. Oh, okay. Looks like we're live.
Okay.
Okay, now it's taking me somewhere.
They're just the best.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Beat it. Oh, okay. Let's mute my computer. Can you hear me? No, wait. I can't mute my computer. It's taking me somewhere. Now I have to mute this. There we go. Hi, guys. How's it going? How you doing, Allie?
Good.
Allie, remind us where you are in the world.
So I am in Lander, Wyoming. So a small little town in rural Wyoming, kind of near Jackson Hole.
Okay. So what is your area like? Like, are you in a pretty rural area? Do you have a lot of hospitals? Do you have a lot of choices for OBs? Like, what's your story?
So we are in a very rural area. It's about 7,000 people. And really the biggest or closest places to us would be Salt Lake City. Sorry, my dog's going a little crazy in the back on the pillow. If you're hearing that scratching. Yeah, so I kind of had the choice between going and seeing a specialist in Salt Lake or Denver. So Denver, to give you a perspective, is like 5 hours away. Salt Lake's 4 hours away. Maybe Denver's like 6. And then Bozeman, or no, I think Billings was the other option, and that's about 4 hours. So everything's pretty far from us. We do have a really good OB here in town. However, with twin pregnancies, they're just like a little bit more hesitant. So they really don't deliver any earlier than about 34 weeks. Or if they have to deliver, they would ship you off and send you over to your specialist. So we're kind of just plunked in the middle of nowhere and obviously getting great care from what we can. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity of being life flighted out if the babies come early or if there's any
I'm sorry, I'm making that face, aren't I? Where I'm like,
I know it's crazy.
Are like a bunch of you at home now like, oh my God, you might have to be life flighted out. Like that just, I live in the suburbs of Chicago. I'm very fortunate. I have a lot of choices. The hospital I delivered at was 15 minutes away with a level 3 NICU. You're 33 weeks along. Is this making you nervous? Trying to figure out like, where am I going to deliver? Like, do you know where you're going to deliver? And do they have a level 3 NICU?
So we don't have a NICU here. If the babies came out, the biggest concern is their lung development because they can help them breathe, but it's really manual. They don't have like the machines that help them do that. So in the case where you deliver and the babies can't breathe on their own, that's when they life flight them out. So I'm trying not to get too nervous. I had a scare like at week 28, and that made me a little bit like they were preparing to fly me out. And a lot of times it's just, they'll kind of look at your symptoms and they're like taking it really, really, they're doing their homework. They're making sure that they're not keeping them here if they shouldn't be here, kind of a thing. So I'm not too nervous now. Getting closer after 32 weeks, I felt so much better hitting that milestone. This week I did have a lot of symptoms of preeclampsia. Okay. So earlier this week, they were like, we're probably gonna have to send you out. But they did the steroids in my hips for their lung developments. And if we can make it to like 34 and a half weeks, then we can deliver here.
Yeah. I mean, I have several friends who delivered twins at 34 weeks who had either very minimal NICU stays or not even at all NICU stays. I delivered at 38 weeks and only one of my sons had to have a NICU stay, but only 2 days long. It was like it was basically like, any other baby could have these problems, like jaundice and low blood sugar. So you're 33 weeks, you're like feeling like in a really good spot. You kind of have your plan in place for where you're going to go. Have you packed your bag for the hospital?
Yeah. I hadn't packed it at 28 weeks when we went to the hospital. And that was such an eye-opening experience for my husband and I, because we're like, oh my gosh, we are not ready. We have so much stuff to do. And so afterward, I kind of came home and threw some stuff in a bag. It's so hard to pack ahead because like you use all the stuff. So, I mean, I bought a lot of stuff that I can just throw in there and not think about. But really in the last couple like a week or two, I got it in a good spot. And so now I'm just kind of keeping it packed and living out of it if I need things and just waiting. I'm on house arrest a little bit, just kind of need to chill and keep my blood pressure down and keep the babies just in a good spot. So just kind of waiting. It's a wait and see at this point.
It's a wait and see. Like the spot where you are at now, at the time I was an administrative assistant. And so I was sitting at a desk for like 8 hours a day. And this was the week where my mom started getting really worried about me driving myself to work every day. And she's retired. So she was basically like, I don't feel good about you driving yourself to work every day. And it was only like a half-hour drive, and it was like side streets. It wasn't even on highways. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, what am I just not going to go to work? Like, it's not an option. And I can't work from home with my job. So she's like, I'll drive you. And I'm like, great. So it was starting from 33 weeks until 36 weeks. Every day, my mother drove me to work and drove me home from work. This is how amazing my mother is. Donna Burt, props to you. But it was actually kind of like nice because I was then able to chat twice a day. And sometimes my dad would pick me up instead. And so that was a huge luxury. I mean, most people don't have that, but it was really nice to be able to do that. Like, especially if any of you out there listening are taking like public transit to work near the end of your pregnancy and you're really feeling uncomfortable, or it's really hard to get through public transit, whether it be a bus, maybe it's too crowded. See if there's maybe somebody in your life who might be like, sure, I'll give you a ride to work every day, which probably doesn't happen very often. But I think it's worth thinking about if you have like maybe retired people in your life who don't really have a whole lot to do, and it would maybe feel like they have a purpose and that they could contribute to your twin pregnancy. So something to think about. So are you off work? Were you working before? What's your story with that?
So I'm still currently working. I've pared it back a bit.
What's your job?
So I'm a marketing director for about 5 physical therapy clinics. And I'm one of the only people that does marketing in the company. I do have, a couple people that help me out. And so it's been hard to kind of pare back and let that go. And I just have so many projects I want to work on. And I don't want, marketing to kind of crash while I'm gone. And so it's been really hard to pare that back. Luckily, I can do a lot of it from home. So I'm kind of wrapping up projects right now and just trying to remain calm and relaxed, but also get some stuff done. So, which is kind of
the plan once your babies are here. Like, do you have any kind of rules in place? Because, I remember, like with HR, they're not really supposed to reach out to you. Unless it's like an emergency once you're on maternity leave. Is there any, like, are there fallback plans? Do you have somebody at your office who's the go-to person now once you're out?
Yes, I do have a go-to person so they can reach out to them. And I've kind of made myself available. I mean, we're a small town. Our company's not small. I mean, it's spread all over Wyoming, but I have a hard time letting it go. I think obviously once they're here, that's my main priority and I'm going to be so focused, but I kind of playing it by ear. I have no idea what to expect. We'll see when they arrive. And
I have a feeling once you're gone, if they do try to reach out to you and ask you for your opinion or for like suggestions, you may not be able to give them a good answer. You may be like, I don't know.
Brain is not functioning.
This was me. It was like, that was my face for like 3 or 4 months. I remember maybe once them calling me and then being like, where's that file? And I'm like,
couldn't tell you.
Oh, look through the filing cabinets, figure it out. See, that's the thing is that people get like in any kind of company, there's people who are like the go-getters who like gets shit done, right? Pardon my French. But like we're the ones who like people depend on for things. And then when you're not there, they're like, what do we do? Like, who's going to answer the phone? Who's going to do this? But they need to kind of like jump out of the nest and become more self-reliant. Yeah. So that was something that I felt like, I was kind of like, support for a team of like 6 people. And then once I was gone, they had to kind of learn how to like book their own meetings and answer their own phones. And it all worked out okay. Even though they did have somebody sub in for me. She didn't really, she hadn't been there forever like I had, but
yeah. Luckily, my husband is a physical therapist as well. So he works at the company, so he can kind of keep me in the loop if we need to be. And So that helps a lot. And I mean, we do have like a lot of events this summer and stuff like that. So if I get to a place where I feel good, if we have the babies early and they're kind of maturing along and I'm getting like the hang of it, just because I have no idea what to expect. We don't have any children. So having two thrust upon us, it could go smoothly. It could be just chaos. And
Yeah.
so trying not to, like,
the nice thing about it being your first is that you can take this time to relax.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be watching, you don't have to be caring for an older child. That is a really great benefit. And then once they're here, they're your main focus. When you mentioned that your husband is a physical therapist, I was like, oh, wow, that's such a great benefit to have a PT living with you. How has he helped you with your twin pregnancy pain? Like, has he been helping you out with like, here's some stretches you can do?
Yeah, absolutely. And just because I work with all physical therapists, I mean, there are we have a women's health specialist. She's certified in women's health. And so,
that's great.
And I'm going to rely on her a lot after the pregnancy for like incontinence issues and things. I don't know, I don't know what to expect or what will happen. My biggest thing, pelvic pain. I've had so much pelvic pain in this pregnancy. Just when I lay on my side and I get up, it's just like, oh, and so.
When did that start?
That started probably, I would say around like 18 weeks, maybe 20 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
After that.
Pretty early on.
So that pelvic pain, he's been like, he'll stretch me out, things like that. He gives me massages. I feel so bad because he works all day. And then I'm like, if you could I'm just a little stressed.
I feel so bad.
But he's amazing.
Feel bad at all. This is how he can help you. You know, Nat and I always talk in like the Twiniversity classes about like, there's so much that's like, that the mom has to do, and then like the partner, like how can they help? And so that's how he can help. But also in general, we recommend that dads just focus on refilling your water cup. Like anytime you see that water cup next to her and it is like half or less full, you go refill that cup.
Yeah.
Because that is your job, is to make sure she's hydrated, and also make sure she's putting her feet up so that those legs don't get too swollen. Yes. But I would say that's going to be great too, the PT for once the babies are here and helping with their development and checking for signs of torticollis in their necks. I don't know, do you know what torticollis is? I'm very familiar with it because my children had it. And I don't know what position your babies are in, but both my babies were vertex, head down. For a long time. And so they both got torticollis, which is the tightening of the neck muscles, which then led to that they had to be in physical therapy for that. And then which led to having to wear helmets. So that was kind of like our progression. Luckily, I have a really great pediatrician who caught it early. I didn't even know what it was. It was like not even 2 months old. She was like, looks like this guy's looking that way a lot. And that guy's looking that way a lot. And I was like, I never noticed. I didn't know that was a thing. So pregnant people out there or people with newborns, this is a thing. If your baby's looking one direction a lot, they may have an issue with their necks and they may get flat spots in their heads, but it's definitely correctable. And I would say have him look out for that, which he probably would anyway. I don't know how familiar he is with pediatric physical therapy, but I'm sure, if you put it on his radar, that's something he can look out for. So.
Yeah, he's always with my niece and nephew. He's always looking at different things with them and the way that they sit, and they can't sit in the W. And so
the W sit still 5 years old. Yeah, Alex is still doing a W sit. It's like a constant like crisscross applesauce.
Always trying to reposition. Yeah, I know he caught it early on with my niece and nephew, and so now they're like really good with it. But no, it's a huge benefit. I mean, the health industry, just having somebody there that you can go to for those questions. I mean, he's obviously doesn't specialize in it, but he has so much access to research. And then we have people, at our company that do, and that just gives you so much peace of mind.
Oh yeah. And, we had, like I said, we had PT with the boys for a while throughout their first year. And I learned so much from their PT about like, babies are really meant to be in their parents' arms or on the floor. And like just talking about like bouncy chairs and swings and, exercisers and jumperoos, how it's really important to not keep them in those for too long of a period because they can really, hinder their, their strength and building their core muscles and their muscles that hold their heads up and helps them to sit up. So if you find that you're putting your babies in those kinds of apparatuses a lot and for a long length of time, really practice getting them out of those and just, trying to balance the time. Because I think that's the problem being a twin parent, and you haven't gotten here yet, but I'm warning you, this is coming, is that you're going to have a constant struggle of, okay, where do I put my kids while I need to do X, Y, and Z? So then you're always putting them in the bouncy seat, or you're putting them in an exerciser because it's safe and they're not going to be able to get away or get hurt. But then if you rely on these things too much, it could really hinder their physical development. So it's really kind of, they always suggest, the best place is to have them on a blanket on the floor so that they have full range of motion. And, it's hard to hear when they're like, you really should be holding your baby more. And I'm like, so I should be really holding two babies more? Then I have no hands to do anything. So thanks for that comment. And now I feel like crap. So thanks a lot. So sorry to the triplet and quad families out there, good luck with that. Maybe grow a couple extra arms. That would be helpful. So
I can't even imagine. Oh,
I know. It's just like
5 kids in there.
People mean well, and then you try your best, and that's really all you can do is try your best. And then you always feel guilty, and there's, you can't stop the guilt. It's always coming. I'm going to pop over to the Facebook and see if anybody has put any. I haven't seen any major questions or anything. All right. So what kind of concerns do you have right now in your coming on week 33?
You mean like with the pregnancy or once they're here? Or?
Yeah, well, I would say anything. Let's talk about pregnancy first.
Okay. I guess for me, I haven't been trying to set expectations at all because everything changes so much. So twin A for me, he is like flipping and flopping. He has breech one week, then he's, head down, then he's breech, now he's transverse. And so I think, I've just tried not to set my expectations too high, have a birth plan that's really specific, because I feel like with twin pregnancies, it's just like, there's no preparation in a way. So I guess my concern was, am I not preparing enough? Am I like being too kind of loosey-goosey about it? Just, whatever happens, I'm in good hands. I mean, obviously I've read a lot of stuff and I'm aware of some things, but I'm just kind of like going with the flow. And I don't know if I'm being too relaxed about it.
Now let's talk about your twin birth plan for a minute, because a lot of people are like, what's the point? Twin birth plan, like that's kind of a contradiction in terms. And I really feel it's important to put on a birth plan what your wishes are realistically, realizing that you might not get many of them, or you might get all of them. Who knows? Why not? Why not just put it on there and see what happens? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think if baby A cooperates, I would love to try and do it vaginally. I mean, that would be something I'm definitely open for. My husband's a little bit nervous and he feels like a C-section's a little bit safer just because of some of the complications and things like that. But our specialist was awesome. He told us, in I think 200 births he's had, only 2 have been C-section. In the 200 twin births, his last 200, because he's done way more than that, but he said that 2 were C-sections. So he's very confident in getting him out. I don't know how he is like has such great stats and stuff like that, but he said, if they're in the right position, I mean, these are babies putting them in the right position, and he's had like 2 double whammies in his whole career. And so those stats are, I know you're one of those.
All right.
But story. I mean, I would definitely like to go that route. Just the position of twin A, he's just been so, mostly breech this whole time. I'm feeling like we're probably leaning towards C-section. Yeah. So
traditionally, most doctors, at least in the United States, traditionally, if baby A is presenting head first in vertex, then you can attempt the vaginal delivery, because even if baby B is breech or transverse, they could attempt a breech extraction, which is basically the doctor putting his or her hand up inside your hoo-ha, taking the child by the legs or the butt or whatever, and pulling them out that way. And it's actually like very common in metropolitan areas. This is something I didn't even know what it was when I gave birth. But apparently it's like a pretty common thing. But then there are doctors who aren't very familiar with it and won't even try it. They'll just be like, no, you're just doing a C-section. I can't do it. So I'm pleased to hear that even though you're in, kind of the middle of nowhere, you still have a doctor who's going to be willing to try a breech extraction if your baby A is presenting vertex. So
Yeah,
That
both my
what happens.
both my OB and specialist, because my specialist is the one that's had like the crazy great stats. My OB that's here, I mean, he's like, if baby A is head down, we're doing it. And so
That's
he's
great.
very open as well.
That's really
So,
great. I mean, the recovery from a vaginal is, a lot easier. But at the same time, a C-section, it's a lot less fuss. You don't have to go into labor. You don't have the typical pains you would have with delivering a baby. So there's pluses and minuses to both. And I feel like either way, it really just comes down to the mom and what she wants to do. For me, I was like, you know what, if I can just have a vaginal, I want to try for it. I'm not really afraid of having to do the C-section. The other alternative would just be to do the C-section and to not.
Why'd you have to do both? Were they just not able to get baby B out?
Yeah, he just wasn't advancing. It was very odd. It would have taken hours and hours and hours for him to come out. And then he might not have even come out. I don't even know. But I was exhausted. I had been pushing for like a total of 7 hours. And it's if you want to hear the whole story, go to the Birth Hour podcast, where I told Bryn from the Birth Hour my delivery story. So you can check that out. But anyway, everybody was healthy. No one was in any distress. It was just, he just wasn't advancing. I don't know what was going on. Maybe I'm just small down there. Some women just have smaller, like a smaller uterus. The cervical opening is it's more difficult. During the birth, they kept mentioning like, he just needs to get over this one hump and then he'll be out. And I was like, what hump? I don't even know what that means. But I've been watching a lot of Call the Midwife. It's basically my favorite show ever now. And don't watch it if you're afraid of birth. But it's amazing. It's a great show. And just all the different ways that they are able to deliver breech births through just a woman in a room with some lady in her house. Like, I'm like, holy crap. Like all of that would be in a hospital this day and age, pretty much. So anyway, so enough about Call the Midwife, but it's awesome. Highly recommend.
I've been hearing, my uncle told me about it randomly. I don't know why he's watching it. My uncle.
Season 1 was a little slow. So once you get to season 2, you're good to go. I love it. And captions help because they're British. So I like reading the captions too, because then I can have it on, mute and my children can come in. But anytime there's like a birth scene, I'm like, let's switch over to Parks and Rec or The Office, because I don't know if the 5-year-olds are ready for that yet. Concerns about once the babies are here.
I think one of my concerns is just giving them equal attention, because I know that's impossible. I mean, even with my dogs, if I'm like petting one and the other one's staring at me, I'm like, oh shoot, like, sorry. Like, I just feel like this pull to just give them all my love. And I feel like on top of that, having the 2 babies, I don't know how twin moms deal with that. Is that hard? Is that something that you struggled with? Or is it just like, they get the attention when they do?
First, let's talk about the dogs. So
they're going to be so miserable.
What's the plan for the dogs?
Look at these little,
if you know already they're going to be miserable, do you have anybody that they love that will be willing to like take them for a little while?
Yeah, my parents are going to take them, especially if we have to go down to Salt Lake to deliver. They'll be with my parents for a couple weeks or however long we're down there. And they just love them. And my parents, are so good to them.
Okay. This is what I regret, is not doing this. Yeah. Because my mother-in-law, she loved our dog. Our dog is passed now. We have a new dog. But back then, my dog was so depressed. I had to put her on doggy puppy uppers, whatever you call them.
Oh gosh, what? Seriously?
Doggy depression pills. I felt so bad. She was so like, we were basically like, sorry. Like, we would take her out. Our neighbor would walk her. Thank God.
Yeah.
She was walking her while I was pregnant too, because I could hardly waddle around, down the street, nevertheless around the block. So I would say plan ahead that your dogs are going to need more care than you expected.
I have them set up. So we have 2 streets over, a pair of twins that are 9 or 10, and they're starting a dog walking business. So I have them set up this summer for that. And then we have some other coworkers that their kids want to do the same. So I'm planning a lot of dog walking. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they do. They love babies. My niece and nephew were just obsessed with them when they came. But it's going to be hard. I can already see one of them like
outsource as much as you can to get them the attention they need. Because really, when it comes down to it, they just need attention. It doesn't really matter so much if it's from you guys. They need somebody to give them attention so that they're not down in the dumps all the time and then they have to go in the puppy uppers.
Puppy depression meds. I cannot believe that.
So it's a thing. It really is. And it did help her. And she was only on it for like 3 months, but I really should have sent her away to my mother-in-law's house. She had a big yard. She had another dog. Like, why didn't I just I don't know why I felt guilty, because she was like my first baby, you know, like, so, okay. So the dog issue, plan more than you think you are going to need. Okay. Second, how do you avoid not feeling like you're neglecting? You can't. It's impossible. You will drive yourself crazy trying to give equal time. The key, I feel, is giving them, what's the word? Where it's like you're giving each the time that they really need in the moment. Okay. And you can't really worry too much about like, oh, I'm giving this baby attention. Oh my God, but I didn't give that baby attention for the past 5 minutes. Well, what if that baby's like totally chill? Like it will all even out in the end. So don't really worry too much about the day-to-day, making sure that by the end of the day, you've given each kid enough attention. Maybe like look at it over the course of a week. Did I give my twins, you know, pretty balanced amount of attention over the course of a week? That's a little more realistic, I would say, because there's going to be some days where you've got one kid who's just like miserable, whether it's a feeding issue or they have a cold or God knows what. But there's always going to be those moments. Like even today with my 5-year-olds, there's some days where one of them, whether it's emotionally or physically, they need more attention. And I just kind of have to hope that the other kid is like cool on their own. It's those days where the both of them need equal, where they're both like suction cup to me. Those are the real challenging days. So those days you just kind of like power through and do whatever you can to distract them. You know, vibration in bouncy chairs and swings is really great. Swings in general are great. It's basically like putting them in their own little carnival ride. And they're basically, you know, just like, if you really are like, I need to focus on this one baby who's having a hard time, put the other kid in a swing for like 10 minutes, and it's going to make a big difference. It's going to let you get more done with the baby who really needs you. And then you can take them out, you know, definitely rotating. It's good to have at least one swing. And I would say like 2 bouncy chairs or rock and plays, whatever, to have some place to place the babies where they're going to be safe. But definitely have just one swing to start out with. If you need 2, get 2 by all means, but you could just start with 1 just to have some kind of variety.
Yeah.
So it's a constant struggle for twin parents, you know, like forever, like trying to make it equal. And I feel like equal is never obtained, but fairness can be obtained.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very fine line, and it's different, I feel, than when you have children of different ages. Because when you have twins, they're exactly the same age and maturity level typically. And so they typically won't really understand if you need to give the other one more attention. So, you know, whereas if you had a child that was like, you know, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, if you need to give more attention to the 4-year-old, you can explain to the 7-year-old, like, look, 4-year-old is having a really hard day. You know, I promise tomorrow we'll go for ice cream tomorrow. The 7-year-old might be like, okay, mom, I got it. But with twins, you're like, you can't just do that. Like until they're both 7, they're not going to get it. So it's that kind of stuff that can get frustrating. But, you know, when they both don't need your attention, which does happen eventually, and they start playing on their own, you're golden, man. Then you're not like your singleton, your friend who just has one baby, who the baby won't leave them alone because they're their only friend, you know? So you are giving your twins their best friend. And as hard as it's going to be, one day you'll have that moment. For me, it was around 11 months, not 11, I'm sorry, 18 months, where all of a sudden I was like, where are the kids? Where did they go? They were playing by themselves and they didn't need me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to drink this coffee. And I was like, so excited. It was really great. And now I have a lot of friends who kind of envy that because they don't have that. They then had to have another kid. But then that kid is little and that little kid needs their attention. So eventually we'll all work out. It just takes kind of a while to get there.
Yeah.
Any other concerns, questions, things on your mind?
I mean, I obviously have the similar first-time parent concerns of like, are they going to make it out okay from this delivery? I mean, I get very worrisome. Like they move around so much and I can never tell. I'm like, is one, I mean, I feel movement, so I feel like things are good, but like sometimes I'm like, am I just feeling one moving? And so common things like that. And then once they're out, obviously, like you just read so many things about SIDS and it just freaks me out so much. So trying to maintain a relaxed state when it comes to that stuff, because I can worry a lot.
Yeah, I would say if you haven't already planned on getting a video monitor,
Yeah.
it really helps with the anxiety.
Mhm.
So, because I definitely have that.
And we have the Owlet baby socks.
Okay.
And so,
yeah, the Owlet, you know, try it, see how it goes. I've heard that sometimes those give off, you know, false alarms, which could make you more crazy.
Yeah.
So try it, see how you like it. Though I know one of the men who is very involved with the company. I don't remember if he's the CEO or not. But he's a twin parent.
Oh, okay.
And so I think if it's something that you want to try, go for it. But just know that for some people, it can be more of a hindrance.
And I feel like that even the false alarms, they'll freak me out, but it's better than like just every 5 minutes checking. And I think the fact that there are two, I mean, you just like, okay, one's okay, but how's the other? I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you're the kind of person like myself, I can identify where you just, and this happens a lot with like very type A individuals where you feel like you just need to kind of have control. And when you don't, you're like, what do I do to get control? And how am I going to be able to like make sure that everything's perfect or fine, at least everyone survives?
Yeah.
And you're really worried that those kinds of tools can really help. For other people who maybe aren't as like that kind of type, it may be more of driving them nuts. So it really just depends on the person, I feel. So try it. Let me know how it goes, because I would be curious to find out what your experience was with those. Okay. I feel like video monitors are really great. And, you know, if you feel like you do need to check on them, just go in. Don't feel bad about it. Yeah. Just try to learn where the creaks are in the floor.
Yeah.
And don't step on those. Now we have them everywhere in our house. Like for some reason, there's more creaks now. And so I just can't walk anywhere without being heard. So, oh well, what can you do? All right. Well, I'm really excited. You're already at 33 weeks, which is a really great spot. Like you are in the home, like finish line. Like you are almost at the end of this marathon, and just know it's going to start hurting. Like it's just your body is now going to get into the zone of like everything hurts all the time. Holy cow, get them out of me now. Oh, wait, but they need to stay in me as long as possible so that they can grow the best. And it's the best place for them to be is inside of me. And you'll have this constant like conflict in your mind of I want them out, but I don't want them out.
Yeah.
And just try your best. I had just like itching everywhere. It wasn't PUPS or cholestasis. It was just itching everywhere. And so I was basically like, get me out of my body. Have you had any of that?
I haven't had a lot of itching, but I have noticed, I mean, my pregnancy was so awesome all the way up until like the day I hit the 3rd trimester. I was so excited and everybody's like, oh, the 3rd trimester is going to be hard. And it was like, oh, it just, everything started aching, swelling, this, that. Yeah. So, but I feel like, yeah, it's not all the time. Nights are the worst for me. That's
nights are the worst.
Come on. I don't like laying in a bed. And I mean, that used to be my favorite.
You have a recliner?
I can't recline. I can't even, if I go back even a little bit, they just the pressure on my vena cava, I feel like I'm going to pass out. So I can kind of like lean to the side, but then they kind of squish each other. And it's once
Where
I find
are you sleeping?
I am sleeping in bed with a pregnancy pillow, but it's just a struggle. And every time I have to flip over, oh my gosh. And I feel like I'm just destroying whatever muscles and abs I had just because I'm trying not to like engage them, but it's almost impossible, you know, when you're lifting yourself. And so, yeah.
You can only do what you can do.
It just gets a little bit harder.
Growing 2 people at once. That's not normal. We're
crazy.
The 3%, remember.
We're getting big.
Oh my God, look at that. You're so cute. I love it. Are you taking pictures every week?
Yes. Yeah.
Do that. Like right around 34 weeks, I stopped doing it and I really regret it because then I made it another 4 weeks and I just kind of slacked and I really have no picture. I think I have one picture of the day before I went into labor and it's not very good. it's like kind of blurry and it was dark. And I was like, damn, why didn't I take more pictures near the end? It's because I was so miserable.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take any pictures.
Yeah. I know. I feel like the belly just like hits a point. It just gets so big so fast. Like I look back at pictures from 20 weeks when I was like, oh, I'm getting so big. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was nothing.
You're like,
girl. I can't try and like thinking about it in the next couple of weeks is kind of crazy because it just gets so big so fast toward the end, I feel like. But
oh yeah. Yeah. I remember my doctor was still like measuring my fundal height, which is from the top of your tummy to the bottom. And she was like, okay, so you're like 32 weeks, you're measuring 40 weeks. So yeah.
It's unreal when they
bothering to measure me.
Yeah. It's crazy when they tell you that. When you're like, I think we reach full term at what point?
Well, it varies. Typically 37 to 38 weeks is considered full term.
Yeah.
So you're close.
Yeah.
4 to 5 weeks off.
Yeah.
Keep those babies cooking. Keep them cooking, girl.
Yeah.
All right. Well, send me an update. Maybe if you're still in it, we can do one from your bed where you're just lying down because you can't even sit up anymore. Like 2 weeks from now, you'll be like, I'm so you can do it.
So close.
All right, Allie, we'll keep in touch. And we hope to see you again soon. And if we don't see you before, I'm so excited for you. Thanks. Congratulations. And hang in there. All right. All right. Take care, girl.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.